Welcome to another episode of Coffee Hour. My name is Paul Abernathy, your host. As always, welcome to the only electrician dedicated show that happens Monday through Friday. Where else are you going to get it? If you're in the electrical industry and you're not watching, what the hell is wrong with you? I'm just saying. There is so much goodness that we can get from here. Get your positive day started. I will tell you, I have a full cup. Can you see it? Well, semi-full cup of coffee. It is my second. Okay, full disclosure to Adam and everybody. So, welcome to Coffee Hour. Hopefully, you got your week is geared in. You're on the down slope. It's Thursday. Okay, so it is the 13th. It's moving towards the end of the week. I have all my taxes done. Do you have all your taxes done? Yes, both corporate and personal. Just got it over with. Stroke the check, get it over with, because I never take out enough taxes. Ever take out enough taxes. Anyway, thanks for joining me today. Hopefully you had a great week so far. We're getting close to the end of the week. Hopefully, everything's going good for your company. You're growing. If you're in some turbulent times, it's going to get better. Just stay focused, stay dedicated. You're going to get there. But before I get started, I want to tell you some announcements, just not great announcements, but we have stopped streaming in the morning to Instagram and Rumble. One we tracked, and it just wasn't, it was too much trouble to set up those streams every morning. And as y'all know, we're having so much trouble with the EV mucks and some screens not showing, and I'm sure we'll have that happen today. So for us, we're trying to streamline it down until we get the new network in here that gives us the faster speeds. We're just going to stream it down, pun intended, and try to focus on that type of thing. So, all right, so that's our goal. So if you probably won't tell, because if you're on Instagram, you will notice that it won't go live there. But we're kind of weeding away from those, and we're back to our pure vertical platforms, except for TikTok, which I am behind the scenes. If you want to see behind the scenes, that type of thing. Okay, which is just me. So I don't know why you come on over TikTok. Come on over to the regular stream. Okay. All right, guys. Also, we're going to be trying to incorporate next week a new segment into the Coffee Hour, some industry news, that type of thing. So we'll be trying to incorporate some of that type of stuff as well, where we can, to bring some value, that type of thing. All right. Okay. Well, as always, I welcome you to the show. Do me a favor. Let me know who you are, where you're from. Give us a shout out. Let us know what you got going on. And if you're a fast track student or you've been in our program before, give us a shout out. Let us know whether maybe you have Trade Hog, because today's show, as always, is sponsored by that little hog right there, Trade Hog. And so we will also be doing some events, hopefully, this year at some venues around the country where we can demo Trade Hog and then have a challenge. See if you can stump the Trade Hog. Because if you can stump the Trade Hog, we'll be giving away coins. All right? So this is what you might see at a show. If you come to a show and we're there and you want to come up and you want to take a chance at stumping the hog, then you can win one of these. If you're not familiar with these are just these nifty little coins and nothing special. But we have them in Masters and Journeyman and all that type of thing. And I have the one that's the ultimate. I don't have a sample here, but that's my favorite coin because it allows me to flip it and make a decision, yes or no. It takes all the pain away from it, because I could care either way, but it's nice to let the coin decide. Anyway, these are nice little coins in their cases. They're available on our website if interested. But some people are entered into the drawing to get some of these. Okay, so anyway, let's do some shout outs real quick and see who we got in the house for today. Paul, good morning. And Paul sent me an email saying that he is already calculated out today's, no pressure, Paul, counted out today's math for our 6 unit. And we're going to run through that one pretty quickly because we've already done the 12 unit, and this is just a ditto of the 12 unit. So we'll see how that works out. And also, Paul is throwing out there #win. And that thing. Let's see here. Frank the Great's in the house. Good morning. Rainy in Los Angeles. Almost Friday. It's getting there, my friend. Think about raining. When somebody tells me it's raining out in the West Coast, The bad part about that is that I'm on the East Coast and I know what's coming. All right. If it's raining out there, it's going to be raining here in a couple days. So, womp, womp, womp. Sorry about that. All right. Adam, good morning, Adam. Welcome. Let's let this knowledge going. Today should be a solidification day. And what do I mean by that? I mean that today we should be easily able to put together everything that we did on Tuesday and Wednesday and quickly move through today, and then we'll move into optional and that type of thing. But this should put us through because we've already built on it. This is kind of our day where if you joined me on Tuesday and Wednesday of this week, today is a day where you kind of go, I got this, right? I am now proficient in it. And it also allows you now to ask any questions because now you've had a couple days to soak it in, right? And ask any questions. And I'm open to those questions. So feel free to ask those questions. Let's see here. What do we got here? David, beautiful day in Missouri. Awesome. Thanks for joining us. And Adam says it's pissing down here in Oregon. Yep, that means that whole West Coast there is getting that rain. Yeah, I'm going to get it. We're going to get it here in Virginia. All I did was I moved from Texas to Virginia, so I bought me an extra day, right? So anything that Texas gets, we usually get that type of thing. So whatever y'all get, Texas get, it's all just passing down. Grace-filled life, good morning. Headed to the shop this morning. There you go. Be safe. Thank you for joining us. Love having you here. Richard, good morning from Orange County. It's coming down right now. Remind me of Northern California. It's beautiful and nobody could drive. Yeah, that is true. And I notice that all the time. But I'm a person that tells everybody all the time, and my wife can attest to this, I'm the worst driver. I have a hardest time even keeping my eyes on the road because I'm just looking around and she's like, focus. I can't help it. And it's just, I try to drive as little as possible, and the eyesight sucks. So it makes it worse. So I'll get you there. I'm surprised, knock on wood. I have a Gladiator. Most people know I have a Jeep Gladiator. It's my dream car. I know it sounds weird for some people. I could have probably any within reason, any car I want. I love my Jeep Gladiator. Love it. It's a 2022. I bought it outright, and I'm going to keep it until it just doesn't run anymore. I love it. It's a 2022, and I think I have 25,000 miles on it. I'm going to ride that thing until the wheels fall off. I just like how it rides. The rough ride. I like the rough ride type of thing. Christopher, good morning. Thanks for joining us. Rob, good morning from Iowa. Thanks for being here over on the tube, joining us on the tube. A tube is also, rumors are that when the new broadband comes, that the tube will have less delay because of the transmission and all this stuff. We'll see. I'm going to put them to the test because if not, you're going to see a whole new change to everything. We're going to go back to our other software that we used to use, and the whole show will be different. The look will be different, that type of thing. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. EV Mux. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt until the new system comes in. And the first time that screen transfer doesn't work, they're done. I don't give second chances. They're done, right? And it's easy for us because we have all that software here, so we can go back to the old way. It doesn't matter to us. Good morning, Rob. Hashtag win. Getting that in there, folks. That's what you got to do if you want to get in on the spin. Hashtag win. You, too, could possibly be in a drawing for these nifty little coins. I know. They're just a coin. Oh. TikTok people saw that. Look at me. Look. You will never see that again. TikTok. People over on TikTok saw that behind the scenes. Y'all know where that coin went? That is why you get behind the scenes, bro. Oh my God, I gotta get my coin. Hold on. Oh my God. Look. This is now Coffee Hour's official Dunk It coin. I literally dropped that sucker in my coffee. Did y'all see that? Oh my God. That is hilarious. That is hilarious. And now I've got coffee every dripping. Oh my, look. Oh my goodness. All on my shirt. Jesus God. That's, you know what? That's called I'm changing Coffee Hour to the non-coordinated, clumsy electrician show or something. Okay, dude, look. Holy crap. That was incredible. All right. Oh my God. It's that morning. You got to love it. But that is interesting. So there you go. There you go. That's why you have behind the scenes. Y'all wouldn't have seen that. All right. Anyway, it went straight in. So good morning, Rob. Thanks for joining me. Mason, I'm going to be one sticky mess. What's up, Mason? Thanks for joining me. Look like a new face. Let's see here. What do we got? Alex, good morning. Thanks for joining us. Love to have you here. Alex, also give y'all an example. Alex also is doing #win, so you can get in on a spin on this and take a chance of winning this nifty little one with coffee. Well, might get this one in the drawing. Who knows? That's hilarious, man. That's an exclusive for TikTok there. I saw that thing there. Let's see. Richard, let's go. External revenue. No shit. I haven't heard any more about that. We'll see what happens with that. So much going on right now. What's up, Nepo? Thanks for joining. #wins. Gotten in on the spin. Terrence, good morning from up there in the DC, Maryland, and Virginia area. Also, we will be, just for those that are asking, that are in the Virginia area or you're in the vicinity, we will be doing some code update courses coming this summer. No dates determined yet, but we will be doing those. For those that want to see me live in a show, then we'll do that. Let's let you know. Good morning, Crypto. Thanks for joining me. Good morning, Van Man. Thanks for joining me. Sarasota. Is it sunny in Sarasota today? Daryl. What's up, Daryl? Good morning. Glad to have you here. Jonathan, good morning. Glad to have you here. Northern Alabama. That's what I'm talking about. There you go. David Carter, good morning. Heading up to Arlington, Virginia for a service change today. Right up the road, if you will. Right up the road. Here we go. Nashville's in the house as usual. Cray, thank you for joining us. Let's see here. I would gladly take the rain down here in the south. I live in Canyon Lake. It's 41%. So, yeah, you'll take some of that water. I remember seeing those reports out there and when there was Vegas out there near there. I think it was Lake Mead, wasn't it? That was so much down. It was incredible. But, yeah. I tell you what, since I moved back to Virginia, it seems like it rains every other day. So, and we know no problem with rain here in Virginia, that's for sure. Good morning, Nebraska. Going to do some inspections. There you go. Get on it, David. Kevin's joining us, New York. Good morning. Thanks for joining us. Hey, look. Got another lady in the house. Good morning. Joe Wheeler River. Tara, thank you for joining us. Glad to have you here. Angel's in the house. Buenos dias. From Puerto Rico. Awesome, Angel. Thank you for joining us. Glad to have you here. Uh-oh. Paul says, shoot, I realized I calculated something wrong. Reworking the numbers. All right, we'll see. We'll see what we got going on. John, good morning. Thanks for joining us, John. Glad to have you here. John's also hitting that #win. Good morning. Good morning. From Fort Worth, Angel, good morning. I was just about an hour or so north of, northeast of Fort Worth when I was back in Texas. Tito, you talking about this one? Calling dibs on this one? I gotta watch, but that was a perfect drop, right? Perfect drop. Folks on TikTok got to see that. Okay. Adam says, I need some more coffee now. Oh, that's funny. I'm so clumsy anyway. I was one of those guys, if I was in the lift Don't you stand under me. I'm just saying. Clumsy. Red Dog, buenos dias. Rain coming down, Southern California, bringing all that rain out here. Nepo said, yeah. It just got real. Coffee showers up in the house. Yeah, I see that. Y'all are tripped. Yeah, it was a Paul morning there, Dominic. Good morning. Glad to have you here. And Seti, good morning, everybody. All right. Well, good morning, everybody. Y'all seen Paul spill coffee everywhere. Still going to drink some. There's no contaminants on that coin. It's all good. All right. Hey, Paul says he's recalculating and he's okay. All right. So he did the numbers, but it didn't change the conductor sizes, I'm sure. So there you go. All right. Hey, Tino, thank you. I appreciate it. I need all the help I can get. All right, let's get into today's lesson real quick, because at least we know that part works. Okay, so for those that followed us on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday we culminated with the conclusion of a 12-unit apartment complex. It's just basic. We'll get deeper. Coffee hour is a Monday through Friday thing, so we're going to get deeper and deeper. That's why you want to join and subscribe, because you never know what we're going to talk about and where we're going to go. And it's a full year. We're going to do this Monday through Friday. I'm committed to it, and so it's your place to come. We're not going anywhere, and we can talk about all different things. Remember, if you have topics or things you want to discuss, all you got to do is go to paulabernathy.com. That's our portal. That's where we filter in the questions that can be presented or topics and things like that. So just go to paulabernathy.com and we can do that, and we'll try to incorporate them into the show. Again, this is all about what you need in the morning drive, something you want. So you get something you're like, hey, I'd love Paul to talk about this or that or something. Then, that's how you get something into the topic. Right? Somebody wanted us to talk about multifamily dwellings and do the calculations. So I did it. I said, let's do it. And so it's all for what you want. You're all part of the family. You join us, and we appreciate it. You share it with other people. This should be every electrician, I think. We should have those numbers. We should have thousands of people watching us every morning to get your day started. Should be the thing that you do at the job site, right? Everybody come together and safety hour and then coffee hour. You know what I'm saying? All right. Anyway, so what we want to do now is we're going to pick up and start the same calculations that we did for the 12-unit complex, and we're going to run quickly through a 6-unit complex. So it's just a numbers change. Instead of being 12, it's 6. So this is just what we call a recap, and this is when I do redundancy. I do redundancy in my training because I want to hammer things into your head. And so only thing we're doing is we're varying it slightly so that we can now look at the numbers again, but do 6 versus 12. And then I can quickly go over and explain the charts, our little form and all this kind of stuff for you. All right. So let me get to where I was at so we can go on. So as you can see with with the 12, we had all these numbers here. This is all the presets that we had. And if you're new to the show, you didn't watch the other ones, please go back and watch them. They're on replay. So go back and watch, and you'll see how we step-by-step worked through this process. We're going to use the same numbers. Only thing we're changing is the units, right? So here is the same thing. So this right here is our form. And people have been asking about this form. It's only available if you're a fast track student and you're in our program. Although there's other ones out there probably that you can find. If you Google them, you can probably find them. But this one's only available through our program to be able to download in the program. Okay, so don't ask. There's the only way you can get it is through the program. All right, so and that program is our fast track system program, and a URL is up there under the logo if you're interested in getting into our program. We have exam prep programs, and we have post-licensing programs as well, okay? Residential, commercial, grounding and bonding, as well as a mastering the NEC, which is basically just a long-term consulting program that you can, even if you're already licensed, it's great to have in your pocket, that type of thing. Okay. All right, so one of the things that are not going to change is we have our trusty Casio with us, and we have Paul as well, who double checks the numbers. So here it's the same 3 VA per square foot that is in 220.41, and we're in the 2023 edition of the NEC, so always remember we're going to be in the latest edition. So it could be slightly different in the version that you're using, but again, we're always going to be in the 2023 because that is the latest published edition, and it's the most widely adopted edition at this point. So it's 3 VA per square foot times the square footage, which you get by going 30 times 35, right? That right there. And then there's 6 units. So all we're doing is plugging in our form is the number of units. Pretty simple. Now you see these hashes here? These hashes represent, this is just a summation box. It means that we're adding things up, right? So 3 times 1,050, okay? And that came from 220.41 right there. There's no better time, I guess, right now to see if the NEC is working, guys. You ready? Let's see if it's working. Nope. It's not working. I figured it was no better time to see if it was working or not, and it's clearly not working. I'm going to go over to see if it's showing on y'all's screen, just to see if it's working on you, so that y'all can see it. So y'all can see it. That's good. That's fine. I can't see it. As long as y'all can see it, that's all that really matters, right? As long as you guys can see it. So in this scenario right here, y'all can see the code book. I can't see it on my end. So I love how EVMux says it's the stream stuff, but it's not really the stream stuff. It's their software that's the problem, right? So I love how they say it's the stream, but it's almost like it's always easy for people to blame other things than to take ownership of stuff. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, all right. So anyway, we're back here. So there you go. So the 3 VA per square foot times 1,050, which is the 30 times 35, and it's 6 units. That's 18,900. Check the math for me. And then we have the 2 small appliance brand circuits. It's 1,500. We get that from 220.52a. So that's what this form does. It reminds you where to go. Okay. And remember, the code requires that we have at least a minimum of how many? 2 small appliance brand circuits. So that's 210.11c1. That reminds us the minimum of 2. Now, remember, if this had 3 small appliance brand circuits, and you got to remember that in your real world scenario, if there was 3, then you have to account for 3, and you would put a 3 here. Okay. But in our case, only have 2. So 1,500 times 2 times 6 is 18,000. And then the laundry circuit, a minimum of 1. Where do we get that? That's in 210.11c2 of your 2023 NEC. That states that we have to have at least 1 laundry. Now, as I said before, if this is a multifamily building and they have a laundry on site, then this may not be required. But since it's in our calculation and it's listed right here as a branch circuit, and at 1, then we know that there is not an on-site laundry facility that's available to everybody. So we have to account for that 1. So 1,500, we get that value from 220.52b in your NEC. And when you watch this on a replay, one good thing to do is to watch these later and work these things out, just so even though you see the answers while we're on live, the neat thing about working it out on a replay is that you can pause it, go to the code reference and read it, then come back, and it's just going to help you learn. And you're just going to get better at it. And that's the whole key, so that you can just do it without having to think about it. Okay. All right, so that's where we get that. So 1,500 times 1 times 6, 9,000. Okay. All right, and then we got to those demands that we can apply. Now, this is no different than what we did on Tuesday. No different than what we did Tuesday, right? What we do is we simply take the total, which again you would take and add up 1, 2, and 3. So let's do this math and see if the math is right. 18,900 plus 18,000 plus 9,000. 45,900. So that math is right there. And we take the first 3,000 at 100%. Where do we get this? We go to 220.45. Okay, that's what it tells us to do. That's that nifty little table. And when you're doing dwelling units in application, then you're going to be able, if you're using the standard method, you're going to be applying these demands. Okay. And for an exam, in this case, we're doing the standard method, but in an exam, you always assume the standard method unless they state otherwise. Okay. Always assume that. They'll tell you if it's to be using the optional. They'll let you know. In the real world, you're probably always going to be doing the optional method because it just makes sense to do the optional method. Okay. All right. So that's at 45,900. Take 3,000 away. We'll put that back later. And that ends up with 42.9. And since that 42.9 is less than 117,000, then we can just skip right down here to 8. Okay. And see here, it says the smaller of line 5 or 117,000. Right. Right. So 42,900 times 35%, because that's the next one down in that table in 220.45. Right. And so that ends up being 15,015. Right. So 42,900 times 0.35 is 15,015. So that's where that number goes right here. Now, remember, you have to bring that 3,000 back because that was at 100%. So we bring it back, and that is the 15 plus the 3. That's 18,015. Now, you notice this block right here is solid. That's because that is a number that we're going to be using in our calculation. So that's how this form works. Okay. All right. Fasten in place. Y'all remember the same as before. The only difference here is we're not multiplying them by 12. We're multiplying by 6. Now, you already know that if I have 6 water heaters, then I've already got 4 or more appliances. So I'm going to be able to apply the demand factors of 75%. I'm going to be able to do that. Y'all know that by just looking at it. So 4,500 times 6 is 27,000. That's where that number comes from. Here is the value for this is a dishwasher. If you look at the dishwasher here, y'all know to convert this to VA, it's 10 times 120. So 10 times 120 equals 1,200 times 6, 7,200, right? Well, that's where that number comes from. And the same thing for the disposer, which is the garbage disposers, and of course the microwave as well. Those are our appliances. Those are our fasten in place appliances. And that brings up another good reason. Somebody sent me an email and asked, you say, well, why am I including the microwave? Well, because in this case, it's part of the calc. It's not something that the homeowner is going to bring and put it on the countertop. This is in your list, so that tells me that this is going to be one that's either like a built-in microwave or that type of thing. So it's part of the design, so it's a fixed or fastened in place appliance. Okay. Now, also in our forms that we include with you. Now, you can't use these forms, obviously, on an exam. People have asked me that, why do I want to use this form when I can't use a form on the exam? I'm like, think about it. What you're doing is studying. You're in our program, or you're studying in an exam prep course. You're trying to learn the steps so that you don't need this form. However, I tell people all the time, print the damn form off, laminate it, use it as a bookmark inside of your code book. Get some dry erase pens. Use the laminated sheet for your apprentices, for your helpers. I mean, as a master electrician and as a journeyman that maybe oversees other electricians, you should make every moment you can a teaching moment. Even if you're only going to use this portion of it right here, just to do the fasten in place. And maybe you're going to use what's on the job site you're at and ignore this. You're going to say, hey, what do we got here, guys? How many appliances we got? Let's show what the load would be. Teach them. It's always a teaching moment that you should be. And again, it helps make you better. It helps make you that authority figure on the job. It gets everybody on the same page. And you know what? Make life what it is, fun. Don't make it a hassle. And don't be afraid to share knowledge. You know what? We're not holding some secret key that we can't share with other people. You know what I'm saying? Share it. Let's share knowledgeable information and stop sharing the myths and the false stuff or rumors that you may hear from somebody. Let's share factual information from now on. Okay. Let's make our trade. Let's elevate our trade. You know what I'm saying? What's up, Trenton? Good morning. Glad to have you here. Joseph, good morning. Mike, good morning. Glad to see you. All right. So we add up all of these, and this should be 46,800. Okay, so I'm going to add it up here just to be sure. We got 27,000. We got 7,200. We got 5,400. And we got 7,200. All right, 46,800. All right, now that is obviously we have 4 or more fasten in place appliances. So we get to apply the 75%. Where's that at? 220.53 in your NEC. Okay, that's where it's located. So I'm going to take that, I'm going to multiply that by 0.75 on the trusted Casio, and it gives us 35,100. Okay, there you go. Terrence says he still uses the form when asked by the inspector to verify the service. Absolutely. It's a great way. Anytime you get that, the inspector that comes out. Now, a lot of inspectors are probably savvy. They've been doing this for a while. They can look and say, well, if you size it at a 200 amp, they look at it and go, it's 200 amp. Or 400 amp, it's 400 amp. But every now and then you'll get one that demands you to show them some stuff. And these forms are great to use a dry erase pencil and laminate it and use it over and over again. Give it to your helpers, laminate it and print it off and laminate it and give it to all your helpers. And maybe here's a fun thing. Dude, I didn't think about this, but our job is to teach. Even if you don't think you are as an electrician, as a master, a journeyman, your job is to teach. As an owner, I just came back Wednesday. I met with a contractor up in Richmond, Virginia for lunch. And I'm teaching a course for his guys next week. One of the things about it is that he already does millions of dollars in business a year. He does, and he's got 15, 20 guys that work for him. And I'm like, he says, I'm rolling. I'm doing fine. I'm like, well, he says, but I want to continually to educate. I want them to learn. I want my guys to be the best. And he realizes that if I train them now, they'll take care of him later. And he gives them the skills. Okay. So I was like, that's the way we should be. And so, you know what? I think that one of the neat things, if you have some guys that work for you, apprentices, journeymans, whatever, get this. If you're in our program, get this sheet, laminate it, give all of them a copy, give them a dry erase pen. And then at the beginning of each week, give them a give them a dwelling scenario, and then give it to them, and have them work this out on their sheet. And if they get it right at the end of the week, those that get it right, buy them lunch. If they all get it right, dude, you're the owner. Buy them lunch. Come up with your own, but encourage them to learn. Make it interesting for them. You have to feed them to learn. You know what I'm saying? You have to feed them to learn, okay? All right, Van Man's got a question. Van says, I can't remember when you calculate the square footage, did you multiply by 6? No. Well, yeah, in the form, yes. So let me show you. Let's go back to lesson here. Let's go back. So right here, see the square footage on the form? 3, which is the VA per square foot, times the number of square foot per unit, which is 30 by 35, which is equals 1,050, and we multiply that by 6. See there? That's where that number came from, right there. Same here. Each unit has 2 small appliances. The multiplier is 6. Same right here, 1,500. Only 1 laundry circuit per unit, but there's 6 units, so you're multiplying it by 6. That's where that total figure came from. Now, after all of that, look how it dropped it down. Say, because of diversity, okay, it dropped it from 45,900 all the way down to 18,015. That's serious allowable drop because of this demand, okay? All right, so then we did the appliances, and we took that 46,800, 75%, because we do have 4 or more, okay? And so appliances here. Okay, we have that just in the water heaters alone. So that is going to give us 35,100. Easy peasy. Next, we move to that electric clothes dryer and the cooking. Now, this is like we did before. As you can see, if you look at 220.54, it'll tell you that when it comes to a clothes dryer, under the standard method, that it is what? It is 5,000 or the nameplate, whichever is larger. Our case, our clothes dryer was 5,000, so we don't have to do anything. But just keep in mind, if it had been 5,500, we're going to use 5,500. If it had been 4,500, we're going to use 5,000. So the minimum of 5 when you're doing the standard method. Okay. Now, in our case, we had 6. So we can use the demands that are in 220.54. So I'll take you to the code. Again, I might not be able to see it, but you probably can see it. And I'll go to 220. And we'll go to 54 so you can see it, just so we can see it right here. I'll get rid of that. And let's see here. I'll make sure that you folks can see it. I'm going to look over here. There you go. Y'all can see it. As long as y'all can see it, that's all that matters. All right, so we go down here. Here's 6 right here. Here's the 6. And the demand factor for the 6 is 75%. That's your demand factor, percentage, 75. Okay. Start from the right, move 2 decimal places to the left. 0.75 is your multiplier. All right. So if that scenario, we're going to come back to the lesson. Okay. Then I'm going to take the value is, and that is going to be 5,000 because that's the dryer. We're going to take 5,000. We're going to multiply that by 6 units, and that is 30,000. And we're going to multiply, that's the total VA, okay, for the 6 clothes dryers. And we're going to multiply that by 0.75. And that gives us 22,500. Mr. Casio tells us 22,500. So that is our demand for our clothes dryer, right? 22,500, right? For the cooking, same thing for the cooking here. We're looking at the cooking and we're going, okay, this is 12 kW, right? So at the 12 kW, we're going to go, it's not over 12, okay? And it's not 8 3/4 or less. So we know that we're going to be in column C of 220.55. Okay. And if you're not familiar with how to do ranges and range calculations, over on Fast Track's Tube, we have 2 great videos. One video shows you range calculations in very extreme detail. And then the other one shows branch circuit sizing and all those nuances for ranges and cooktops and things like that. So we have those videos. It's over on Fast Track's Tube. If you are a member of Fast Track's Tube or you have a subscription, just go to the search feature at the top and type in ranges and it'll come up, that type of thing. Right? But you can find it pretty easy. But again, we have 2 great videos on that. So now, okay, let's get back to the lesson here. Okay, so now we're looking for the cooking. So where do we see this? Let's go to the NEC again. And funny, it looks like it's working this time. Go figure. And let's see here. And then we'll go down to here. And here's our cooking. All right. So we're over at cooking. And we're going to go down and we're going to do 6 units right here. Okay. And we'll go to the right and see what our multiplier, what our value is in kVA or kW, excuse me, right here, 21. Okay, so it's 21. Again, we were not over 12, so we don't have to use any of the notes. We weren't between 3.5 and 8 3/4, so we're not going to use column B. We're just simply going to stay with column C. Now, what's important to remember is that it states right here that you always will use column C except when note 3 applies. And note 3 is just saying that you can use column A or column B in lieu of column C if your cooking appliances like your ranges and cooktops, if they happen to fall under column A or column B, okay? So again, in our case, it didn't. It's purely under column C. So 21,000 is our value that we're going to be using for the cooking, okay? So that's why we put that value right here, okay? Now, remember later when you do the neutral, these are the values you're going to be multiplying by 70%, okay? See, a little note here reminds you of that. And that's the beautiful thing about these forms is that Charles and them did a really good job at developing these because it does give you these little reminders. And they're just great to have. And a lot of students will, while they're already here doing this, they'll actually, if they're using a dry erase, they'll write out here on the right the actual neutral value here so they don't have to come back and do it later. So for example, if we did the neutral for this, 22,500, so 22,500, we would just simply multiply that by 0.70, and it's going to be 15,750 is the neutral contribution. And they might jot that down right here or right here while they're doing it. And it just, you know what? It just saves you some time. Okay. Up to this point, the same thing could be done for these if you're doing the neutral load. The only difference is water heater don't have any neutral. So you just exclude this 27,000 and you add this value, and this value up, right? And you'll multiply that by 75%. And then you take the final value and you can multiply that. And that is your actual neutral contribution. Okay. Okay. Yep. This whole thing is based on David. The whole course is based on Charles's. We're partners with Cengage, and our courses do nothing but mirror into that program, and we enhance the program. I'm not reinventing the wheel. It's the way that we teach you how to study is really our program. That type of thing. All right. I'm not a believer in reinventing the wheel, and I'm also a big supporter of Charles and everything. Okay, let's see here. We're back at the lesson. Okay, so there we go. So that's 35,100, right? Okay, let's get on. All right, so we did those two. Now, air conditioning versus heat. Now, the only difference here, like I said, is the fact that we've got, 6 units. We don't have 12 units. That's the only difference. So when it comes to the heat, and remember when we did the units, 12 units, the heat was larger. Well, obviously, y'all know this is a no-brainer. The heat's going to be larger here, but we have to look at it. So we got 5,000, right? That is per unit. That's the heat. And then we have this air handler, which is going to be blowing that heat around. So that air handler is not a non-coincident load. It's going to be blowing whether it's blowing cool air or hot air. Doesn't matter, okay? So we're going to do 5. We got to first get the VA for this air handler, okay? So it's 3 times 115, and it's 345. We're going to add that to the 5,000, and that's 5,345, and we're going to multiply that by 6, and that's how we get to 32,070. And there's no sense in this point us doing the air conditioning because I can already tell you the heat is greater, but if you missed what we did on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday, make sure you go watch that because we break down each one of these. And we took the air conditioner at, well, you know what? Let's go on and do that because that seems to be an area where people are confused. So we want to break it down. So let's see. Let's compare it to the AC. All right. So the first thing is we already know what the value is for the blower. So let's find out what the VA is for this air conditioner. All right, so it's 14 times 230. And remember, if it gave it to you in horsepower, then you're going to go to 430.248 if it's single phase, 430.250 if it is 3-phase, and you're going to get the FLC. If you get the FLC, then you come back. In this case, they gave us 14, so we didn't have to do that step. We're just going to take what they give us, and we'll do 14 times 230, and that gives us 3,220. And then, of course, you got that condensing fan, which is 2 amps. So we're going to do that, which is 2 times 115. So 2 times 115 is 230. So 230 plus 3220 plus 345. It gives us, I believe, 37.95 or something about there. All right, so already that is less than the 5,000 in heat. So we already know that's less. So the next thing that you do is that the code will tell you in 220.60, since that AC is of the non-coincident loads, because it's not going to be on at the same time as the heat. Because of that, it says, you know what? Why don't you, since that air conditioning compressor is the actual largest motor in this dwelling unit, why don't you redo the math and take that air conditioning compressor at 125% plus the sum of the other loads, which is the air handler and the condensing fan, and now go on and compare that to the heat again. And does it now greater than the heat, or is it still less than the heat? In our case, it's less, because if I take that 3220 times 1.25, that gives me 4,025 plus the 230 plus the 345. That's only 4,600. That is still less than the heat by itself, which was 5,000. So I know that I'm going to be using the heat and not using the air conditioning. Okay. Makes sense? So that's why we use the heat. And that was 32,070. Now, if you're in the 2017 code, you ain't even got to go through that comparison, right? When it comes to adding the additional 125%. If you're in the 2017 NEC still, bless your heart, then you're simply going to use whichever's larger, heat or AC, okay? If they're a non-coincident load, okay? Remembering that if it's a heat pump, that it doesn't mean that it's a non-coincident load, because you could have supplemental heat that comes on in a defrost mode, and so they wouldn't be treated as supplemental heat. Wouldn't be treated as a non-coincidental load. And you'd be using nameplates and things like that. So just keep that in mind. Now, if that confuses you, make sure you go watch our video that we do when we did single family dwellings, which is, I guess, a couple weeks ago. Go watch that, because that video, we broke down what happens if it was a heat pump. And I broke that into example. All right. So the next, we have to find that largest motor. You heard me talk about that last week. Now, why are we looking for the largest motor? Because we got rid of the AC versus heat. We got rid of the AC. We just went with the heat. And since the AC is now gone, we need to find the largest motor. And as I told people before, if you're looking for the verbiage in the code that physically says this, you're not going to find it. You have to let that go. You really do. And some people struggle with this. Let it go. Just let it go. You get there by knowing the code. You get there by knowing that if I have all these motors in a building, in this dwelling unit, that if I go to 220.50, it's going to send me to 430.24. And 430.24 is going to say, it says in 220.50 to use the concept of 430.24. So the largest motor at 125% and all the other motors at their rating or at their sum, okay? So that tells you that, wait a minute, we just did this calculation and we took all of the motors at their value. Yeah, we applied some demands to them later because the code allows it, but we did take them at their value at first. So we've already done that. We've taken all the motors that at 100%. Forget the fact that we applied some demands. Stop letting that confuse you. Demands are just something that the calculation allows us to do. But we took advantage of all the motors. So all I'm doing is complying with what 430.24 says for these motors, is I need to find the largest one. And I take that largest motor and I take it and I try to get that additional 25%. Now, you're probably saying, well, why aren't you using the air conditioning compressor? Because during the calculation, we got rid of it, right? Because either the heat's on and it's greater anyway, and we're sizing for that greater anyway, then it makes the AC irrelevant. But when the heat's running, AC's not running, the heat's running, we could have one of these other larger motors running. So we have to account for it, okay? So basically the heat cancels out the AC. Even that air conditioning compressor at 125% wasn't larger than the heat. So it's taken care of. It's just already taken care of. But you could have one of the other larger motors. So in order to comply with 220.50, we have to find it. So in this case, True Motors, in our case, is the in-sync waste disposer. And that was 7.5 amps times 120, and that gave us 900. Well, all I'm trying to do is capture this small amount right here, the 25% of that largest motor. That's it. And so that is only 225 VA. That's it. 900 times 25% or 0.25, however you want to flavor it on your calculator, is 225 VA. That's it, okay? So now all of those numbers, I don't trust my numbers, so let's add all our numbers together. So I'm going to do 18,015 plus 35,100 plus 22,500 plus 21,000 plus 32,070 plus 225 equals 128,900. Mr. Casio is right. There you go. I'm going to divide that by 240 because that's the system voltage that we're working with. I'm going to divide that by 240. And another upcoming episode in Coffee Hour, we will do these as well, but we'll do a little bit of a flavor using three-phase applications. Okay, but we're not gonna mix it. Okay. Yeah. So Jonathan asked a good question. Always, these are great questions. So the largest motor is used one time, just one, because that is all. That's an interesting one too, Jonathan, because even in a commercial building, right? And you could have motors on a feeder circuit, right? And if you go to 430.24, what does it say? On that circuit, it says for that feeder, it says take the largest motor at 125% and the sum of all the others. Same here. So all of these motors in this multi-story building, let's say 6-unit complex, in this 12-unit complexes and whatnot, the end of the day, it's basically still saying take the largest motor, and you're already taking the sum of all the other ones, so it only wants the largest motor. That's all it wants, just the one. So, yep, absolutely. Interesting. Glad you brought that up. Okay. So, and again, it's the same. I could have a feeder, for example, because it's telling you to use 430.24, right? I could have a feeder with 10 motors on it, and it's still the same concept. I take the largest one at 125% and the sum of all the others, or the FLC of all the other motors, and it just works out, that type of thing. All right, so we got 128,900. Divided by 240. I'm going to divide it by, and Paul says it's right. So it's, 128,910 divided by 240. It is 537,000. 537.125. So we'll drop the 0.125. So it's 537. Okay. Now, obviously, if we go to 240.6, we're not going to see an overcurrent protected device that matches that. Okay, so again, I'm going to go to 240.6. I am curious to see whether or not our code, whether the thing's still working. It's not, but y'all probably see it, but I can't see it. So again, funny how that works. So we went over and looked at it. And let me double check it's working just to make sure y'all can see it. I'm using Fast Track's tube to see, and it obviously there's a delay over there. There we go. Okay, so y'all see it. So and I go down here and look, and I'm seeing, is there anything 537? I mean, obviously that's a weird number. So I got 450, and I got 500, and then it jumps to 600. So it's going to be 600, okay? Now, remember, I have to have a conductor, okay? I have to have a conductor that can handle 537 amps. But we're going to be doing sizing, and so we have a 600 amp overcurrent protected device, okay? So here we go. We're all right here, right? So we size it. So let's go to the conductor sizing. Okay, now, another big difference here, folks, is that we are not over 800 amps, okay? So we're at the value here, but we still have to size for the load. Okay, so let's look and see what we got here. So sizing the first, so we've got use the tables along with 310, 15A through F to determine the conductor sizing. If the overcurrent device is rated more than 800, the conductor ampacity must be equal to or greater than the rating of the overcurrent protected device. Okay. So this says we have, so let's do this. So we've already sized, we say it was 600, but I need to make sure, first of all, I need to make sure I have a conductor that can handle the load. So that's the first thing I like to do. So I like to do two things here. I like to take that 537, right? And I'm going to take that 537 and I'm going to divide that by 2, okay? I'm going to do that first. Or I'm going to see what would I need to handle 537 first. Okay. So I'm going to see what I would need for that first. So let's go to the code if it works. May not work. May work. Okay. All right. I'm over here at the code. So I'm going to go to amps just to see what it would be in amps. Let's see here. Okay. So I'm going over here. I want to see if it's working for y'all. Bear with me. It is a little bit of a delay. There we go. Okay. So it's working. All right. So I'm over here in the amps, and I'm going to expand this a little bit. We always assume copper unless state otherwise. So I'm going to kind of scroll down here, and I'm going to see. We're going to be on the 75, and I need to have something that's good for 537 amps first and see what's practical. All right. So 537 amps means that I'd be at 1,000 kc mil. And you guys know, in the real world, ain't no way ain't nobody trying to run no daggone 1,000 kc mil. Ain't nobody trying to do it. We'll sell it for you. I'll sell it to you, but ain't nobody gonna be running that. Okay, I'm not running it. I'm just saying. All right, so not gonna be that. Let's just say that. Okay, so the next thing I would do is, just for craps and giggles, I'm gonna take that number. I'm gonna take that 537, and I'm gonna 537. I'm not using the overcurrent device yet because I want to show you. I want to do two things here. I want to take that 537 because I want to at least handle that load. So I'm going to take that 537. I'm going to divide that by 2 now. And that gives me 268.2 amps. Okay. All right. So I'm going to say, okay, 268.2 amps. I'm going to go to the code and see what that might be. All right. And ironically, it's working this time. Go figure. All right. So I need 268 amps. So I'm going to go down here. And okay, so 250 is not going to work. So I'm going to go to 300. That gives me 285. Okay. So 285. Okay. All right, Paul, hang on, Paul. Hang on. All right. So we're sitting here and we're going 285. All right. So 285 times 2 is 570. Okay. All right. So, but it will definitely handle the 537 amps, right? Most definitely will handle that application. So if we go back here to the lesson, okay? Yeah, we're sizing here. Now you see where it says 300? Because we're able, and David says 2 times 4 aluminum. So he gave us the aluminum as well, right? So we're under 1,000. Okay. So where do we get this in the code? So let's take you back to the code. So I'm okay with the 3, and that's why I use the 537 because that's the actual load. So what I want to take you is into services real quickly. I can get there. Let's see here. Sizing and ampacity. Okay. I don't know if it'll work. But we'll go there. Let's see if it's still okay. It's not working this time for me, but it's probably working for you. All right, sizing. All right. So it says a conductor shall have, let me make sure it's loading. Give me a second. Make sure that it transitions over on the Fast Track's tube. Okay, I can't tell, man. It is a delay over on the tube. That is a little weird. But I guess it's a delay everywhere. Okay, so conductors shall have sufficient ampacity to carry the current for the load as calculated in accordance with part 2 through 5 of 220. So that's what we did, Paul. So that is for the service. So those conductors that we're sizing, we sized the load, and the load was 537. And so we sized those conductors to do what? Carry the load. Okay, that's what it tells us in 230.23. Okay, we sized it to carry the load. Okay, and we used this portion to do so. Okay, now minimum sizing. That's your minimum sizing. Keep that aware of this one in exam. if you guys are on an exam or prep, that they might ask a question, the minimum size, that just keep that there so you understand that. Okay? Here, you got a little extra thing there. All right, so that's the minimum sizing right there. So we're not. Now, back to your question for Paul. You're going to be sizing this because it's under that. You have the allowance to go up to and be able to put it on the next size. Now, also you're thinking, okay, well, what about the protection for that? Okay, what about having to apply some protection for that? Well, let me show you that as well. Okay, bear with me. I'll get you to that as well. Okay, let me get you there on the code. All right, it happens to be working this time. All right, so now we're under service equipment, and we're talking about overcurrent protection. Okay? A little different. We sized conductors, but now we're down here and we're looking in, let's see here. Hold on now. I went to the wrong location here. Hold on. Bear with me. I have a hard time seeing ratings. Hold on here. Went too far. Oops. I got minimum sizing. Okay, I went kind of wonky on my sizing. Okay, now these are the services. I'm trying to look for something else. And can't see here where my screen is here. All right, there we go. Okay, so our ratings. So you're doing a one-family dwelling. These are little things that I just wanted to mention for the exam prep folks. And I was looking for it. So this, for a single-family dwellings, which is not this is a multifamily dwelling. But for a one-family dwelling, just remind you that the minimum of rating, if it asks you a rating question, it would be 100 amps, okay? If you have a multifamily dwelling and it's asking you about the minimum size for any of the individual dwelling units, then they could be as small as 60, okay? So I wanted to take an opportunity to point that out in case somebody asks about it or whatnot. So those are the sizing allowances, that type of thing. Let's see, what else? I'm trying to see. Here, overcurrent protection. Okay. And let's see here. It's not the one that I want. Oh, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to give. Probably this one here. When it comes to overcurrent protection, and you see all the stuff that me and you were talking about for this application, if you go down in your look here, you have some allowances down here as well for the overcurrent protection. These are exceptions. This is just an example where your overcurrent protection for something may not seem like you're giving protection for the conductors, but you are based on these allowances, right? So here you've got an exception that's for this. You got for fuses. And basically this right here, for example, fuses and circuit breakers, exception number 2, it says fuses and circuit breakers shall be rated or a setting that complies with 240.4b or c, and 246 shall be permitted. Okay, so this is the B right here. I'll click on it so you can see it right here. Okay, if it's overcurrent device is rated 800 amps or less, this is where it says the next standard size overcurrent device above the amp capacity and conductors being protected shall be permitted to be used. Okay, so I just looking at things, trying to put pieces together for you, Paul. This is where, in our case, we took that 537. One, because we went to 230, and it says that, size it to the load. You did the calc. That's why it's so important to do the calc. We sized our conductors to that. However, we're allowed, because it is under 800 amps, we are allowed to do that next sizing. Okay, get it? So we're allowed to apply 240.4b in this case because we're what? Well, we're not more than 800 amps. So we're able to apply, and it's still considered. But at the end of the day, remember, we still have to make sure our conductors can handle the load. And so when somebody just guesses at a service, unfortunately, the problem with that is, do they really know what the load is? And that's why you have to know how to do a load calculation. Okay. All right. So let's pick up and end this out here. So we got our sizes. And of course, the neutral calculation is no different than we did before, right? We're only accounting for the neutral loads, right? And so in this case, you're taking all neutral loads. So remember that first part with the general use and general lighting, we are keeping that entire 18,015 that we did, even after we applied the demands and 220.45. We're applying all of that. We took all of the appliances except for the water heater, and we're able to apply that 75%, the same demand that we did to it for the appliances, which is 220.53, same one that we did before when we're sizing the hot conductors or the ungrounded. We can do this again because it still applies. So we take that total summation, multiply it by 75%, and that gives us 14,850. That clothes dryer, remember the value we had earlier? We take that and we multiply that by 70% because that's what it says we can do in 220.61b. And that's how we got the 15,750. Same thing for the range. That's at 21,000, I believe it was. 21,000 times 0.70. That gives us 14,700. It tells us that we can do that in 220.61b. So we did it. Nothing for the heat because that's a 240 volt load. Nothing for the air conditioning. Okay, that is a 230 volt load. And then we have all of the contribution that would be AC and the air handler, because those are all 115, so they have a neutral contribution. So when you're doing the neutral, there is no heat versus AC. You're just taking all of the neutral loads that are there. So at air handler was 3 times 15 and times 6, because there's 6 units, right? And that is 2,070. And the condensing fan was 2 times 115 volts times there's 6 units. So that is 1,380. And then we have to still find that largest motor because that has a neutral contribution. We need that largest motor that's going to give us that neutral. And in this case, it's still going to be the in-sink waste disposer. Okay. So that is the one we're going to use. So 900 times 25%. 225. So that did not change. So a lot of these numbers are the same that what you did when you did the standard calculation, right? So those should give us this total, 66,990. Okay. And then, of course, you divide that by 240. That's going to be 279.13 amps. And we have 279 amps. Okay. Now, remember what we talked about yesterday? That if you're in the 2023 edition of the NEC, okay, then and you're in the 2023 edition, that you have this and that's in 220.61, and that says that you can either apply the 70% to the air conditioning, to the ranges and the clothes dryers, and you can apply the additional demand to the value that's over 200. Well, you can't do that in the 2020 NEC. You can't do that in the 2017 NEC because there's that or in there. But in the 2023, we get to do it because there's now an and in there. Now, some of your jurisdiction may be okay with it, and they'll go like, look, I knew that it's going to be and I think that was messed up. And yes, the AHJ has that ability to do that, okay? So at the end of the day, that's what they're doing with that thing, okay? So they can dictate that. But again, on an exam, be careful whether you're in 2020 or 2023. Because in our case, we have 279.13, which is 279 amps. I've already applied the 70% up here. So I've already applied the 220.61B1. I want to apply the 220.61B2 now. And so down here, I take that 279, I take 200 away to put that to the side, and that leaves me with 79 amps. That 79 amps is the amount that exceeds 200. So I'm going to be able to apply a 70% to that. So I take that 79, right? And I multiply that by 70. And that gives me 55.3 amps. So we'll say 55 amps. Well, I got to add that back to what? I got to add that back to the 200. So that gives me 200 plus 55. That's 255 amps. That's the minimum neutral ampacity. Now, many people will at that point go and try to find a conductor that's rated for what? 255 amps. But you got to be careful, because since we paralleled the ungrounded hots, remember, we had two sets, we have to do the exact same thing for the neutral. So we also know that the paralleling rules in 310.10G of the 2023 NEC says that when you're paralleling grounded conductors, ungrounded conductors, when you're paralleling them, they cannot be less than 1 aught. So right away, before we even looked at anything, we know that the minimum would have to be 1 aught. Minimum, okay? So, but we could take that 255 and we divide it by 2, that's 127.5, right? Well, if we go to the NEC and we go look at ampacities, then we realize that we can't size it to we can't size it to the 127 or the 128, rounded to 128. We can't do that, right? Let's look at it real quick, just so you know. Okay, we're over here, and this is our ampacity table, right? Oh, no, that's not the ampacity table. Hold on, I didn't go far enough. Right here. Here's our, nope, that's still not far. What did I click on, the wrong thing? So we'll go here, and we're at the ampacity, okay? And we have to have a conductor that's good for 128 amps, and we go under 75, one, because it's over 100, so we know that. So we go down here, and to find one, so you would think that it'd be a 1 gauge, right? That's what you would think, that it'd be a 1 gauge, but it's not, because again, you have to look at the paralleling rules. And the paralleling rules are found in 310.10. All right, so we go to 310.10, and you'll get down here, and you'll see right here, conductors in parallel. Right here, aluminum, copper-clad aluminum, and copper circuit conductors for each ungrounded conductor, grounded conductor, or neutral conductor shall be printed to be connected in parallel, that is electrically joined at both ends to act as one conductor, right, basically. And it says only in sizes 1 aught and larger, right? And then, of course, you have various characteristics you have to meet, which are all these characteristics down here, okay? So in our case, the only answer can be dealing it in what? Dealing in 1 aught. Okay? So 1 aught can be the only size that we can have for this application. All right, so there you go. Now, as far as sizing the grounding electroconductor, we did this the same way before. It's all based on the conductors that are run in parallel. And that would take us to 250.66. So if we go to 250.66, and remember that the conductors that are in parallel were 300 kc mil coppers. Right? So if you go to 250.66, and we'll go here, and I assume it's showing on your screen. And I don't know that it is, so we'll see. Give me a second. There we go. Okay, so it is showing. And so here, you see this right here where it says equivalent area for parallel conductors, okay? All right, so that means that we're going to take the two sets. We're going to take the 300 kc mil, and you have two sets of it. So we have an A and a B and an A and a B. So I'm just going to take one phase. That's it, A. And it's 300 plus 300. That is 600 kc mil. Okay, so I'm going to come down here, and it is over 350 through 600. So we're there. And here you see the minimum size grounding electroconductor would be minimum size would be 1/0 copper or 3/0 aluminum. Okay. Does that make sense? And that would be the size dealing with that. Right there. Okay. All right. Now, next, we're going to be doing tomorrow. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing the standard method again, but now we're going to do it. So this is your homework. Okay. If you want some homework, these are your values. Write them down. We've been working it enough. Go watch the replay and pause it and write these numbers down. Write this stuff down. Now you're going to do a standard calculation for the individual unit, just one unit. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be sizing the feeder to this one unit tomorrow, okay? Now we have a question. I want to get to the question from Rob. Let's see here. Let's go to the chat here. So Rob has a question that says, the first time I took my master's test in Minnesota, it had a question on energy efficient loads on a multifamily dwelling. Where is this in the code? You'd have to be way more specific than that, energy efficient loads, because I don't know that I can answer that question for you. But what I can talk about is that in a calculation you have in 220, it's going to talk about, for example, your lighting, and I'll take you there if it gets you there. I'll take you back to the beginning of 220 for our loads. Let's go back to the loading here. I can take you to the code. And we get back here to the beginning of 220. Let's go to the general right here. Let's go to the very beginning here. Okay, so when you're back in the beginning in your scope, right? When you're doing the calculation, and you'll see down here, you've got all this information, yada, yada, yada. And I'll show you here. So other loads, you get all the information here, lighting loads, everything in Windows, each little piece and each little component, and you'll get your existing load. And then just for feeder calculation, okay, your non-dwelling applications, right? So this is your non-dwelling lighting. So this is table, it used to be 220.12, but now it's 220.42. So this one, so when it's talking about the energy efficient, here's your energy code rule. Okay. So the reason it is here, you notice that it is under 220.42, which used to be under 220.12. So typically in the multifamily dwelling, it's talking more about the non-dwelling applications, like the common areas, the hallways, the areas in a multifamily dwelling that would be considered commercial. And it does have some allowances here for the energy code. Okay, so where that building may be designed and constructed to comply with the energy code, if it's adopted by your jurisdiction, okay, this applies to the lighting. So other than that, when it comes to your question about energy efficient, I am not energy efficient loads. I would not get lost in. You'd have to be more detailed about that in the question. Now, it might be a motor that falls under something in the motors for an energy efficient motor or something like that. But an energy efficient load is just going to have probably a nameplate that's going to have a lower value. It's going to be more energy efficient, that type of thing. So I don't know that would change anything. So unless you knew exactly the question, I don't want to speculate on it. And that's right, Charles. If you're in the earlier editions, 2020 and earlier, it's 220.12b, and that is for the lighting. So what that means is you could have an engineer use the ASHRAE 90.1, I believe, or something. They could use that in order to design the load for the lighting in lieu of using the values from the luminaire. And if they might be able to use that instead and come up with the loading portion for the lighting. Can't get away from the other stuff, right? Not going to get away from the other loads that you have, but they might be able to use the energy code or ASHRAE or whatever your jurisdiction adopts to do that. Now, I was a head of plans examiners for years in Richmond, Virginia. And I was their engineer, and I saw a lot of drawings, probably, upwards of 15 a week. And I never saw anybody use the energy code. I went up to Alexandria, Virginia, and granted, this is years ago, but well before the energy code really. I mean, ASHRAE was around, but it really wasn't interjected too much into the code. Most of the engineers don't want to get involved in that for the energy code. To be honest with you, I'll tell you why. Because if I were to calculate the load in a lot of the dwellings, even the multifamily dwellings today, and I base it on the lighting itself, which is probably going to be LED, probably going to be very low anyway, then I'm probably going to yield as good a result, if not better, using the value of the luminaires and doing the load calculation. All right, even though I'm using the 220 what is it now? It is 220.42, or if it's 220.12 previously. Even if I'm doing the lighting and I'm using the unit loads or the VA per square foot, there was an adjustment that was made to this in the 2023. There was an adjustment in the VA per square foot. It was kind of reevaluated based on ASHRAE. So I don't really know if there's that much benefit to use the energy code, even if it's even worth the effort. But it does give a design professional leeway to do that. I would not anticipate an electrical exam to get that detail, because you're not design engineers. It might give you the values on an exam, for example, right? It might say that an engineer has designed the lighting load using ASHRAE or whatever, and then it might give you the actual value for the load, right? For the luminaires, cumulative, the loads, or it may give you the square footage. Hey, that might be your question. It may give you a occupancy, right? Let's go to the code real quick. That's a good example. It may give you an occupancy, right? For example, over here, it may be this let's just pick one and say it may give you this retail, right? So it may give you this retail, which is 1.9 VA per square foot, right? And you just multiply by that by the number of square foot that you have, right? So it may give you that, and you do the math, right? And that would be your VA, right? But in the same question on the exam, it may tell you that the engineers used ASHRAE, right? And they came up with a different VA. And it wants to ask you, which one do you use? Well, if you're comparing the two, what does the code say? All right. If I go to the code and I look at it, what it says right here under the lighting, what does it say? It says a unit load of not less than specified in table 220.42a, right? For non-dwelling occupancies and the floor area determined in 220.5c, that's the outside dimensions, shall be used to calculate the minimum lighting load. Okay? It says motors rated less than 1/8 horsepower and connected to a lighting circuit shall be considered general lighting loads, right? So it's giving us all of the rules here, right? So that's A. That's the general. When you come down to B, it says this. What does it say? It says, where the building is designed and constructed to comply with an energy code adopted by the local jurisdiction, it says the lighting load shall be permitted to be calculated using the unit value specified in the energy code where the following conditions are met. Okay? So you have to meet every one of these conditions, okay, to do that. But at the end of the day, it's still what? The unit load cannot be less than specified in this table. Okay? It can't be less than this. All right? So I could use the energy code. I got options here. I got A, that's a general, and B, using the energy code. But then you have to meet all of these criteria. Okay? Now, other interesting fact is why this makes this not usable by most people is because this right here, this already has continuous load for this lighting application built into it. The energy code does not. So you would have to take those loads as continuous and you would have to add this multiplier, okay? And you cannot apply any of the demands in 220.45, okay? So you couldn't apply any of this if it was a hotel, motel, warehouse. You could not apply demands to it, okay, for the general lighting. You just are taking the value that the engineer gives you based on the energy code. So that is why most people, that's why I generally now today, because the values in that table for the VA per square foot have been so reevaluated that it doesn't make it sense for me to use the energy code. Okay, so it really, that's just my opinion, that type of thing. Okay, all right. Anyway, there you go. Feed the hog. I don't have nothing to feed the hog. I don't have a question to feed the hog. Anyway, all right, guys, I went over today. Let's do some spins real quick. Let's get some people in the list to give away some stuff so that we can get some folks down on the list. As I did go over again today, I'm going to have to sacrifice my lunch again. I'm losing weight because I'm sacrificing my lunches, guys. All right, so let's do the spin and let's get some giveaways here. And it's only a couple weeks away from the giveaways. John, let's see what you get, my friend. Some of you might get this. Drawing for the coin. This is the master one, by the way. Show this to everybody. I also have an inspector one, pass or fail. It's kind of cute. When inspector comes out, I got this. Flip the coin in front of them. That'll be cool. All right. So estimating software, you're in the drawing, John, for the software. Okay. That is cool. All right. So you're in that drawing, my friend. Good luck. All right. Let's do this again. Get somebody else. That estimating software. I was actually talking to the contractor last week. He wants to get that estimating software. He's using AccuBid and he's finding it complicated. And I told him, I said, you know what? Best Bid Hybrid next generation to me is the best out there. No, I don't get any commissions. No, I'm not promoting. I'm just telling you, go use a demo. Go just demo it if you're looking for estimating software. Just do the demo. It ain't gonna cost you anything. All right, Mike Caldry. All right, Mike, let's see what you get, my friend. Hey, if y'all got a question you want me to feed the hog, put it in the comments. I'll feed it a question. Oh, okay, GB card. All right. Those are cool little hard metal cards. Those are awesome. All right, let's do it again. Let's see who we can get. Congratulations, Mike. If you win, we will let you know. Your name will be in an upcoming episode. So everybody will get to see your name or your username, and then we'll work it from there. Miles, what's up? All right, Miles. Mahoney, paging Mahoney. What movie was that? Mahoney, paging Mahoney. All right, let's see here. Spin it. Let's go. He knows this. Let me hear it. Are you for my lottery ticket? Hashtag win. All right, let's see what you get. All right, Police Academy, Mason. That's exactly right. Love that movie. All right, Fast Tracks Tube. If you already have that, Miles, let me know. But those that win the 12-month access, all you gotta do is go to Fast Tracks Tube and sign up for a free account, and we will elevate you when we validate you. That type of thing. Okay, let's see. Yeah, there's a lot of info today, and I reiterated some things today. So we covered a lot of ground. So again, that's what Coffee Hour is about. We can go. It ain't got to be polished show, folks. Okay, we're just here. We're just electricians. I'm just an electrician like everybody else. And I even dropped a coin in coffee today for you guys. Okay, TikTok folks saw it. That type of thing. Okay, So anyway, all right, let's see here. Miles, get that subscription. If you already have it, let us know. If you want to extend it, let us know. We will extend it. All right, let's do another one real quick. Let's go. All right. I can hear everybody now. All right, let's see here, John. Let's see what you get. You get another shot today. I got coffee everywhere, guys. My whole studio's full of coffee now. I'm a sticky mess. It is good in the bed. Oh, hey, there you go, John. You got in for. Oh, you got 2 in. John, you increased your odds, buddy, because you just got in the drawing twice today for the software. Good gracious, that is increasing your odds every day. All right, let's redo this again. Let's get somebody else in here one more time. John, you just picked up 2 chances to win that nearly. Oh, man. David says the only chance I got is by answering code question. It's automated. I don't control the spin. David? All right, Trenton Demert. Trenton Demert. Okay, Trent, let's see what you got here. Trenton, let's go. David thinks it's rigged. It's not rigged, David. It's just automated. All right, Trenton, Fast Tracks Tube. I don't know if you already have it. Fast Tracks Tube, you get a year's subscription to Fast Tracks Tube. Tito's they want my money back. No refunds on today's show, folks. No refunds. All right, Trenton, you got a subscription. All you got to do is go to Fast Tracks Tube. Up at the top, you'll see where it says member plans. Sign up for a free membership. And once you do, let us know. We'll keep an eye out on it. Jeff will keep an eye, or Darlene will keep an eye on it. And we'll elevate you to the annual membership, that type of thing. Or drop us a line if we don't get you. And we will definitely get it to you. All right, folks. Appreciate all of you. Thanks for joining me today. Again, a little bit shaky there, spilling, dropping stuff in my coffee, but that's just the way it rolls. Okay, so tomorrow it's going to be a good one because tomorrow we're going to go over the individual units, okay? And then we're going to shift gears. Tomorrow be quick. Then we're going to shift gears and we're going to start the optional methods for all of this. And we're going to show you how dynamically it's different and why you're probably going to always use the optional method in the real world. Okay, so that will be what we do and say. So tomorrow we're going to do the individual unit, okay, and we're going to do some questions tomorrow and that type of thing, and then when we do that individual unit, and then the first of the week next week we will do all of this again. But then we're going to do what? We're going to do the optional version of it. So get us all set for that and geared up, okay? And we'll see where we get tomorrow because it's Friday. We want to be chilling, relax a little bit. If you got any questions you want me to discuss tomorrow, because I can also answer some questions live tomorrow if you have them and you want to send them to paulabernathy.com, send them. I will answer some of the Let's Ask Paul questions live on the air tomorrow as well. If you want to do that, get those questions that you had answered. All right, guys. Appreciate you. Till next time, stay safe. God bless. Got one more day. Get through today. Then you got tomorrow. Get that paycheck and get ready for the weekend, and we can start it all over again. Till next time, stay safe. God bless. And remember, we do the replays every day at 5 o'clock. It's not going to be live. So even though it may say it's live, it's not live. I don't control that. But check us out for the replay. All right? Till next time, stay safe. God bless.